Welcome everyone to another edition of Q&A Social Security Disability Today. I'm your host, Anthony Reeves, so let's get to your questions. Alright, our first question has to do with what happens after you get approved for Social Security and you receive your decision from the Social Security Administration. This is whether you get it from a judge or whether you get it from the local agency. Okay. A lot of times, this is probably the most frustrating part because it's one thing to wonder whether you're going to get disability. It's another thing when you've been found disabled and then you're wondering when you're going to get your money, how soon you're going to get your money, if there's anything you can do to get your money. And I always tell people these few things. First and foremost, give yourself about a good 60 to 90 days, depending on the type of application. Now, for some of you, you're thinking, that don't make any sense. Why should it take so long? Well, it depends on the kind of application that you have. If you have a straight Supplemental Security Income application, or SSI, the local office calculates that, which usually means they got to call you in for a resource interview. That means they got to go over your assets. They got to see if you've got any money anywhere, any extra cars, extra homes, anybody working in the house. They're looking at all of those things. If they need additional information from you, that may take a little while. If you need someone to handle your money for you, like what they call a representative payee, that may take a while. Bottom line is that if there's additional information that they need for you and your case is not clean, and I tell people all the time, just because you think it's clean doesn't necessarily mean it's a clean-cut case. Meaning, if they have everything they need, it shouldn't take that long, but keep in mind that it may take longer than you think. Now, the other type of claim is what we call a Title II claim. Title II claim means your case is being processed by the Payment Processing Center in one of the few various locations throughout the United States. What happens is when they process your payments, and that's Title II is money that you paid into the system, what they do is there's payment centers that's based on your Social Security number and the state of where you're born that process your application. So again, they've got to calculate how far back it's going. They've got to calculate if there are kids involved. They've got to calculate if there's any offsets, meaning do they have to reduce it because you've gotten money from SSI? Maybe there's an offset for VA benefits. If it's a concurrent application, which means you have both, that means both of these things are running at the same time, so they may offset each other. Now, I know all this may be hyper-technical, but here's the point that I stress to people all the time. It takes a while to calculate these things. It's not one of those things where they just, stick in a calculator and then burn out you a check. Sometimes if there are other things that come into play, and I know some of you right now are going to say, well, I have none of those things. Why is it taking so long? It just depends. Now, the nice part about it is I always tell people that if you notice after 30 to 60 days, if it's starting to be a lag, contact Social Security. Find out what's going on. They'll tell you, and they can give you the contact information to let you know who you need to contact in order to determine why there's a delay. But I will say this, and I will say this emphatically. Brace for 60 to 90 days. Give Social Security the chance to process your case. So this way, your money will come to you properly, because the last thing you want them to do is mess up the calculation and you end up having to owe them money back because they got it wrong. Alright, the second question is, should I contact the judge if Social Security does not honor the judge's decision? Okay, here's the thing. There are two aspects of it. There's the disability portion and then there is the fee portion. Now, if the judge has found you disabled, the local office at that particular point, they're handling the technical aspects. The judge is handling the medical aspect. So contacting the judge and saying, oh, they're not following your order, well, I always tell people, following your order for what? If they say, well, the judge says that I should have been found disabled and my benefits should start back here. Well, let me ask you something. Does the decision say that? Yes. Then you need to contact Social Security if you believe that they were in error in the way they calculated it. They're not going to, Social Security, and this is the thing I always tell people, it's one agency. It's not like a private thing where you're going to a court and you're suing a private person. The Social Security Administration, if you've got a Social Security judge, the Social Security Administration is following what the Social Security judge has told them to do. So what you need to do at this particular point, if you're concerned that maybe the calculations are incorrect, you need to contact the Social Security office. You need to contact the supervisor. Those are the people that you need to speak to, because if there's an error in how they're calculating, that's something you need to talk to with them. And here's the other thing that you also need to be aware of. Sometimes what happens when you get a Social Security decision, you're reading it, and I don't mean to be rude, and I tell this to people all the time. You don't look at this every day. So sometimes when you're looking at what it says, you're thinking in your mind of what you think it means, but it may not be what you mean. So in other words, ask Social Security to clarify so that you get a complete understanding of exactly what it means, or a complete understanding of how they came to that particular determination. Now, Social Security gives you the ability to appeal, so you can always appeal their determination if you think that the local office calculated or did something incorrectly. But I always stress this: don't mess around and shoot yourself in the foot, because you're looking at a situation and you think you understand one thing, but you really don't, but you think you do. And you mess around and you appeal and end up going back and shooting yourself in the foot, because when they look at it later, they realize, oh, we not only did we get it wrong, but we shouldn't have given you as much, or we shouldn't have done this for you the way we thought we should have. Now you got yourself in a situation where you over here raising all kind of noise because you didn't have a full understanding of how they came to the determination. I say this to tell you this: I never tell anyone not to appeal or exercise their rights when they believe they're wrong. So Security is made up of people, and they make mistakes too. What I am saying is that before you start raising the roof and bringing the ruckus about what you think someone did wrong, make sure you have a complete understanding of what you believe the decision is, because the reality is it may not be what you think it is. Make sure you have an understanding before you move forward. All right, everyone, going to our third question. How are the benefits offset if you receive unemployment compensation benefits during the period of time of your disability? In other words, if you apply for disability and you indicated you were disabled during a particular period of time, but then you were receiving unemployment during that time as well, how is it offset? Okay, let's start with the easy one. For purposes of Social Security, there's two programs that we typically talk about. Title 16, which is SSI, and then DIB, which you pay into the system. Let me make one point. Let me go to the easy one. If it's DIB, there is no offset. Let me say this again. If there's DIB, typically there is no offset. Okay? SSI, a little different. SSI, assuming there's no other financial stressors here and there, or any other financial offsets, if it's just purely unemployment, it's going to be a 1-to-1 offset. So basically think of it like this. Let's say Social Security determines that you were eligible for benefits for SSI starting January 1 of 2011. They determine from a need basis that the most you're eligible for is about $680 a month. Okay. Then they factor in the fact that you received unemployment in the amount of $400 per month. They're going to subtract $400 from that $680. So guess how much money you're getting per month? $280. Usually it's that straightforward. But now keep in mind, I'm saying that that's only under a clean scenario. That's assuming that it's just you. You're not married. You don't have a spouse that's working. You don't have money coming in from any other areas. If it's just you, straight unemployment and SSI, it's more than likely going to be a 1-to-1 offset. Now, here's the one thing that I tell people all the time. If you are concerned that offset is maybe more than what you expected, ask Social Security to give you a breakdown. Typically they do. When you get your benefits, you're going to get award notices, which is going to explain to you in detail how they came up to those calculations, so that this way you'll know how they came to that dollar amount. For purposes of this question, if you're getting unemployment compensation and it happens to be during the period of time and you're looking at how much they're going to subtract it from your retro back pay, then if it's DIB, typically there's not going to be an offset. If it's SSI, it's probably going to be a dollar for dollar offset. In other words, for every dollar you get up from that unemployment, they're going to subtract it from your SSI. I'm also keep in mind this: if your unemployment exceeded your SSI, it's very possible that you won't get benefits for any month that it exceeded that dollar amount. So let's say, for instance, that you had unemployment where you were drawing in $1,000 a month. Well, if your SSI was $680 a month, guess what? You get no SSI for that month when you were drawing $1,000 per month for unemployment. So just keep all those things in the back of your mind. As always, I encourage you to keep those questions coming. I always look forward to answering them. If you have a particular question that you'd like for me to go into detail a little bit more, please make sure you specify so we can do so accordingly. And as always, if you have a question, please post a comment, send a message, and I'll make sure I get to it. My name is Attorney Anthony Reeves, and this is your Q&A Social Security Disability Today.